God, that means from that moment on, he no longer had the ability to go in and out of the Father like he did before. He was going to cast him out of there. And he said, and I will destroy forever the covering cherub from the midst of the stones of fire. That didn't mean that he could just kill him and he'd never be, because any spiritual beings, you can never destroy them forever. That's why they'll all be in the lake of fire burning forever. But those created spiritual beings and your spirit inside of you can never be destroyed. It will live forever, which is why it's so important that you know who you belong to before you die, because whoever owns you comes for you. And those are the Father's words. You tell them, whoever owns you comes for you when you die. And you want to make sure that it's them from up there and not them from down there, because you will not be left alone to wander on this earth by yourself. You're going to be owned by somebody. Either through the blood of Christ or because you rejected him, you will be owned by hell. And trust me, they'll make sure they collect you. Because I've seen hell too, and I'm probably going to talk a little bit about that later. Because of what he did, and that iniquity was found in him, he forever sealed off the fact that he could never go on in the inside of the Father again, and he could never go into the midst of the stones of fire. He says, your heart was lifted up because of your beauty. You have corrupted your own wisdom by reason of your brightness and beauty. I will cast thee to the ground. And then it goes on to say what he's going to do to him and what his end is going to be. And that even the man will one day look upon him and say, is he the one that caused all this terror and this trouble? But it talks about him being on the inside of the Father and walking upon the stones of fire. And I was always fascinated with that, the stones of fire. And it also goes on in here where it says that he said himself that his heart was just like God's heart. And that's important that you know that he actually said that. He kept saying, my heart is just like God's. I am like God, so I will exalt myself above him. And he also said, I have been on the sides of the north. I have walked upon the stones of fire. I will exalt myself above the Most High. Now, that didn't mean he wanted to throw him off the throne. That's not what he wanted. He didn't want to throw him off his throne. He wanted to control him. By exalting himself above God, he wanted to control everything that was on the inside of God. He was after those stones of fire and what they meant. Remember, I said it was all power, all life, all creativity, all knowledge, all wealth. All of it was contained in the stones of fire, which is the very heart of God. And his heart represents all life to us. All creativity that comes to us comes from God. All revelation of truth comes from God. Life comes from God. And if you look at the reverse of that, that's exactly what Satan gives you. All death comes from him. All darkness instead of light. Man's wisdom instead of God's revelation. Hate instead of love. It's the total opposite. His heart is the total opposite of God's. And yet he said right here that my heart is like your heart. And I'll tell you why he said that too. Because it talks about what he was made out of. It talks all about what he was made of. And it says right here that he said that, I will find it in just a second. It says in here that every stone, every beautiful stone was put on him when he was made. And that all of the different gems, and it even names some of them in here. Thou hast been in Eden, the garden of God. Every precious stone, that's the gemstone, was thy covering. And you notice it says, was thy covering. The sardius, the topaz, the diamond, the beryl, the onyx, the jasper, the sapphire, the emerald, the carbuncle, and the gold. The workmanship of thy tabrets and thy pipes was prepared in you in the day that you were created. That shows you right there that he had the ability to make music. And he must have been very beautiful to look upon if he had all those gemstones on the outside of him. Don't you think so? And I'm going to show you why he said his heart was like God's heart. Because remember, he walked upon the stones of fire. He knew what they were. He knew what they contained. He knew what the ability God had when he used those. And I'm going to stop for just a second. And before I actually show you what the Father showed me, I had been really seeking him about those stones of fire. I was really curious about what that meant. But I have known for some time that one of the reasons Lucifer fell was he wanted them. He wanted everything that they meant. And he literally deceived himself into thinking that he would be able to control God. I'm sure he probably regrets that many days that he ever did that. And then I'm going to read to you Revelation 4 again, because I told you earlier that in Revelation 4, it talks about that rainbow around the throne. It also talks about it in Ezekiel, that there's a rainbow around the throne like unto an emerald. And it also talks about the throne itself looking like a sapphire. And the other day, we showed the throne room right here, and that's why you see those colors up there. They were as close as we could get ourselves to do it. But the major part of that rainbow that emanates from the Father is teal. And that's why John said that it was like unto an emerald, because it was the closest thing that he knew of that looked like that color. And but it is teal. And then that sapphire literally goes all the way to the bottom of the throne room and engulfs everything, the stairs up to the throne itself. It looks like a blue sapphire because of that rainbow that emanates from the Father. And from the center of that is the most brilliant white light, and it comes from the face of God. And people said, tell me all the time, you couldn't have seen his face. Well, almost nobody can see his face because of the glory that's around it. It isn't that he doesn't have one, you just can't see it because that glory is so brilliant. And then out from that beautiful white glory is a little edge of this beautiful gold, like a topaz, and then all of this beautiful teal, and then from there all the way down to the sapphire. And I always thought that was the most magnificent thing. Every time I went there, I couldn't stop looking at it. It was so beautiful. And people walk in the throne room for the first time, they'll just stand there and stare because of the beauty that it creates in there and just the light of God. And yes, even though you're a spirit being, when you're in there for a while, you will start to glow. Your face, you're a spirit being, it will literally glow with that glory of God on it. And people want to know why angels appear with light all over them. It's because of the glory. It's because they've been with him for so long. That glory is just a part of their being, and wherever they go, if you're able to see them, you will see them glowing with the glory of God. Sometimes all people see are just spots of light or brilliant light because their eyes haven't been open to see the entire being. But when I see them just like I see you, except they have glorious glory pouring from them. Even the fabric on their clothes glow. So it is a wondrous place to be in. But that rainbow always fascinated me about the Father. And about 2 months ago, he told me in my time, every morning before I get out of bed, I spend an hour just talking to him. At night, I spend 4 hours worshiping and talking to him. So I spend a lot of my life with him. If you want to spend 5 hours a day, he just might do something, and he'll do something special with you anyway. The more of your life you're willing to give him, and I know people have busy days, but if you start with 10 minutes and you tell him this is your 10 minutes and I'm not giving it to anyone else, and if you have to shut yourself in your closet, sometimes I had to go sit in my car, even in the wintertime, to be alone with him, because I have a big household, a busy household where I live. And it was very noisy most of the time, so I would find some way to get away, would be with him. And I was desperate enough to sit in my car in the wintertime without turning the heat on. And I didn't care how cold it was, because pretty soon it heated up in there. Because his fire would invade that place, and his presence would invade that place, and he would share secrets with me and tell me things. And I just didn't want to leave. I didn't want to leave my car, because I didn't want to leave his presence. So let me tell you, if you ask him, he'll make sure that he finds some time during the daytime for you to spend with him. He wants to be with you more than you ever think you want to be with him. But let me tell you, your life will begin to change the more you do that. And so each morning, as soon as I open my eyes, I say good morning to the Father, to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit. I actually act like they exist. And then I tell him how much I love him, and then I declare that his will is going to be done in my life like it is in heaven. See, I'm already setting the platform for that whole day. I'm taking control of the atmosphere around me in my day. I'm commanding the day to be used by God and not the world or the enemy or anyone else. And that's what you need to start doing if you want him to be in your life and be more involved in your life. And then I would just start worshiping sometimes or just talking to him, and then I'd get real quiet because he always talks to me. As soon as he's done listening to me share, I'll just sit there and I'll go, I just want to know what's on your heart. I want to know what you're thinking about. I'm so excited that I'm a part of you and you're a part